The fluid that enters the capsular space is called the glomerular filtrate. It's similar to blood, but lacks formed elements and plasma proteins, which are too big to pass across the filtration membrane. It's important to note that pressure filtration is not selective, even though blood cells and large plasma proteins stay behind. Most solutes are small enough to filter out of the blood and into Bowman's capsule. Reabsorption starts when the filtrate enters the proximal convoluted tubule. Here, the epithelial cells absorb all or most of the glucose, amino acids, and other organic nutrients. Important ions like sodium, chloride, bicarbonate, and potassium are also reabsorbed. Some of these ions are actively transported, others are reabsorbed through diffusion. Water reabsorption also occurs in the proximal convoluted tubule. Water reclaimed from the tubular fluid leaves passively by osmosis. The peritubular capillaries form a network around the renal tubule, receiving water and solutes as they're recovered. As the tubular fluid passes through the loop of Henle, significant changes occur in the osmotic concentration. Your body can concentrate urine because a countercurrent multiplier system in the loop of Henle establishes a steep concentration gradient in the medulla. Countercurrent refers to the direction of fluid movement through the two parallel limbs of the loop of Henle. Multiplier refers to the positive feedback relationship between the descending and ascending limbs that create the osmotic gradient in the peritubular fluid of the medulla surrounding the loop. Tubular fluid from the proximal convoluted tubule containing urea and other solutes flow downward in the loop of Henle through the descending limb and flows upward through the ascending limb. The descending limb is permeable to water, but not to solutes. The numbers on this diagram show the osmolarity or solute concentration of the fluids in and around the nephron. The thick ascending limb is impermeable to water and solutes, but sodium and chloride ions are actively transported out of the tubules into the surrounding fluids. As a result, a high salt concentration accumulates in the tissue fluids, with the highest concentration at the base of the loop. As fluid passes through the descending limb of the loop of Henle, the solute concentration of the surrounding fluids steadily rises. Water then leaves the descending limb by osmosis because of the increasing osmotic gradient. As the concentration tubular fluid enters the ascending limb, the sodium and chloride ions are pumped out. This establishes a positive feedback loop that drives the osmolarity of the peritubular fluid higher and higher. The tubular fluid arriving at the distal convoluted tubule has an osmolarity of around 150, less than half of that in the surrounding interstitial fluids. The DCT is the primary site of tubular secretion. The cells of the distal convoluted tubule actively secrete wastes like ammonia, potassium, and calcium, and remove toxic chemical, acids, and many drugs from the blood. By the time the tubular fluid reaches the DCT, most of the sodium and water have been reabsorbed. The reabsorption of additional sodium ions in the DCT and collecting system is stimulated by the hormone aldosterone. The kidneys produce either diluted or concentrated urine, depending on fluid levels in the body. When fluid intake is low, highly concentrated urine helps your body conserve water. This process is primarily regulated by levels of antidiuretic hormone, or ADH. As the tubular fluid flows downward through the collecting duct, it passes through the osmotic gradient established by the loop of Henle. In the presence of ADH, water then leaves the collecting duct by osmosis. Blood vessels of the vasa recta reclaim water and carry it back into the systemic circulation. Just as everyday trash is separated and recycled into reusable material, you've now learned that your kidneys perform the same types of functions. Your kidneys are sorting specialists by filtering out metabolic wastes and recycling valuable materials. And as you've learned, they also play a key role in blood pH stabilization. So the next time you recycle a soda can, you'll think twice about your kidneys and how they perform a similar function in your body.